Hello everyone, welcome to Build with Hussain, and this video I am going to show you how we can set up Tailwind CSS for our portal pages in Frappe framework, specifically in custom Frappe apps. So let's start. So I want to start with creating a new site and an app where we can start creating our portal pages. So I'll create a new site first. Let's call it tailwind.localhost. Let's give it the root password, and in a minute we should have a new Frappe site running. Cool. So now we have a new site. Let's create a new app. Tailwind pages. Tailwind pages. Build with Hussain at frappe.io. MIT is fine. Yeah, we don't mind the workflow actions. And once the app is ready, let's install the app on our newly created site. And it's done. So now what we can do is we can open that app in VS Code as well as in our browser. So tailwind.localhost port 8000. Tailwind pages not found. Okay, maybe we need to restart bench. Let's restart the bench. Usually it stops and starts again, but yeah, now we have it. Cool. So what we can do now is open up our custom app. In the www directory, I'm going to create a new HTML file named team.html. I'll just place some boilerplate content here with an h1 that says our team, right? I go back and I navigate to /team now. So here is our portal page ready to go, right? This is how the www directory works. So it's file-based routing, right? So team.html is accessible at /team and so on and so forth. So now the task is to add Tailwind CSS for styling this web page, right? So let's start by visiting Tailwind website and getting started. So what I want is to use Tailwind CLI for this. And we can start by installing this. So in order to install this, we need to have a node project that we can create inside our app. If you don't have a package.json already, by the way, if you already have it, you don't need one. So I will say npm init -- yes. So this will set up a package.json file, right? And now we can go back, copy this part because we want to use yarn instead of npm. Go back, yarn add -d means it will install it as a dev dependency. Cool. So now you can see node modules folder appear. It means the installation was successful. So what's the next step? It says we need to run this in order to initialize. It created a config file which should be right here. Cool. So we do have the config file now. What's next? Okay, so in order for Tailwind to generate CSS, right, from the classes we use, we need to tell it where the HTML content is located, right? Where are we writing those CSS classes? So I'll give it a path. So it should be all HTML files inside this for now. So /tailwind pages /www .html. It means it will also cover nested directories. Cool. So whatever classes you use inside this HTML file will generate CSS which can be used. Cool. Let's close this. And now in order to generate the CSS, right, we need to create a file with these 3 lines. So let's create it inside templates, and I will add a base.css file here and paste these 3 lines. Cool. So this will be our input file, and Tailwind will process this and give us an output file which we can use it in our team.html file. So how do we do that? In order for us to do that, we have this command npx tailwind-i, which takes an input file, and -o, which takes path to an output file, and then you can optionally say --watch, which means it will reload on changes. So let's do that. I will just copy this part, and for input we have this base.css file, right? So let's call this tailwind pages /template/base.css. and for the output, so in Frappe you have to place your static assets inside the public folder, right? And whenever bench build is done, it will be placed inside Frappe bench/site/assets folder. So if you see, if you place something inside app name /public/images/favicon.png, for example, then it also exists as symlink. So when we want to use this inside HTML, we will use /assets/name of our app /images and favicon.png. Cool. So output will be inside /tailwind pages public css/ we'll call it styles.css. Cool. So it generated, if you see, it generated some base styles which are basically resets of browser default styles. Cool. So we can add the watch flag, so it keeps watching for changes. And then we go to our team.html file. So in this file, I want to import that file that Tailwind generates, this styles.css, right? So this base.css, it picks up, it adds those styles whichever we use in this HTML file, and then this will generate this file. So if I add some class here, let's say text 3XL, font bold, uppercase, and I go back to the portal page, right? Let's open this. Nothing happens because we haven't included that file here. So I will go here, say link a CSS file, and that file is located under /assets/name of our app, as we saw in Frappe framework docs, tailwind pages / then you don't have to mention public, you can directly say css/styles.css. Let's hop back, refresh, and as you can see, the styles got applied. And even if you see this styles.css file, right, it generates styles for only those classes that you have used here. We are done, partly done. So now what we want is add this file, styles.css file, in gitignore, because it will be generated automatically at build time. So we have to do two things for that. First I will add it to gitignore. That will be /tailwind pages /public/css/styles.css. So this will gitignore it. And the second, when do we generate it, right? So Frappe automatically calls the build command from here, from your script, whenever you do bench build. So we'll say build, and we want to run this command which we ran right here. So I'll copy this command, paste it here, and done. Whenever Frappe calls this command, Tailwind CLI will be used in order to generate our styles.css. And now what we can do is, instead of doing this long command and then dash dash watch, we can just say yarn run build dash dash watch. Same thing, right? But now you have the command right here. Cool. So let's check if it still works. Yeah, it works. So now you can be done, right? You can just create more pages, use Tailwind in them, like just need to import this. But let's make it dry, right? We don't want to repeat this part where we import Tailwind CSS, right? Using a link. So we want maybe a base template which we can inherit from. So what I will do is I will go in templates and create a new file called layout.html, right? And here we can copy paste most of it, this document. And since this is Jinja, right, this is all Jinja, we can basically write blocks, block and block, and I will give it a default, so build with so this will be used if the child template doesn't provide any title. And this body we can replace with block content and block. Cool. And in here I just need to inherit from this layout.html. So for that we can use the extends command, extends, and give it a path to the parent template. So we want to extend this templates slash layout.html. and now what we can do is we can say we want to give it a title, right? So we can say block title and block. So these are like Jinja 2 features. I will link the documentation below. Or we can say meet our team, and then inside the content, block content, and we also need end block. So let's copy. Here what I will do is I will write all the HTML that I need to, right? So for that I will just bring back the h1 that we wrote, right? Our team. I don't know why I always type T instead of R. They are like very adjacent in the keyboard. So let's say text 3XL. Let's add padding as well, and font bold, right? And now go back in the browser, refresh, and as you can see this works. So padding won't work, we have to give it a margin because padding is something else. And by the way, if you face an issue where it doesn't reflect the changes, make sure you go here and disable cache. So margin still doesn't work. Okay, let's add a margin higher than that. Yeah, it works, but it was not visible before this. Quick tip. Yeah, so there is one issue, by the way, that whatever you add here, right, maybe you want the body to be having a bg slate 400. This won't take effect. Why? Because you need to tell Tailwind that you want to also generate CSS classes, right? CSS rules from this file. And where do we do that? We go here and we tell it that we also have files located Tailwind pages slash templates slash, and we will give the same rule HTML. Now if we go back, oh, it works. So it wasn't reloaded. Cool. So now what we can do is we can play around with the styles if you want to. Lime 400. Come back here, refresh. So, oh, I have slow 3G turned on. Why? I don't know why. Let's disable that. Now it should refresh fast. So that was the issue. So that's cool. And nice, we have Tailwind going on, and now you can just add a new file and extend it with layout, and you got Tailwind in there as well. Cool. So as a bonus, let's deploy this to F3. So I will add a commit feat. Everything works. Command enter. Let's push it to GitHub. I'm going to do this. By the way, before we push to GitHub, let's test the build command. Yarn run build, and it works. So now I will just say create a new repository. Let's push it to my repository or organizations or the user, whatever you want to call it. TailwindCSS powered pages in Frappe. Let's make it public so I can show you a new feature of Frappe Cloud that's coming soon. Let's call it origin. Let's push the commits, and here you have pushed it to GitHub. Let's go back. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the URL for this repository. I will now go to Frappe Cloud to deploy this. frappecloud.com/dashboard beta, and I want to create a new private bench because we need that to deploy custom apps. New bench, nightly, Mumbai is fine. My Tailwind bench, I agree, create bench. So before I deploy this bench, I want to add our app, and this new feature which we have, which lets you add any public GitHub Frappe app. So let's go back. I think we already copied it. Let's paste this, fetch branches, and just click on add app to bench, and then we can trigger the deploy. And now probably I'm going to speed this up, but let this deploy. The deploy is now finished. Let's just go back, create a new site with the app that has the portal pages. I'll choose this plan, and let's call it Tailwinds. I'm okay. Let's create site. And once the site is created, our portal should be live to the world. You can check we have Frappe and the Tailwind pages, right? Along with the commit message that we push to GitHub. Let's go back to the jobs. It's running. One of them is already succeeded. The site is up. Let's visit site, and let's visit /team, the moment of truth. Ta-da! Cool. If you have any more video requests, just post them in the comments and I will try to get them out. Cool. Thanks for watching. Enjoy Tailwind. I personally love Tailwind. And see you later. Bye-bye.